I'm Paul Gerardo from Catalyst. I want to spend a few minutes with you today talking about delivering UX innovation and 8 strategies that you could consider. So why talk about UX innovation now at this point in time? The reason is in the 25 years that Catalyst has worked on software and the 600 or so applications we've designed, there's never been a time that has been more fruitful in terms of creating user experience innovations that really impact businesses and what users can accomplish in digital settings. There are 8 different things that play into it. I'm just going to touch on them quickly. Artificial intelligence. Now I'm talking again about user experience, and where this comes into play is there is work that people do when they're using digital solutions where the work is just simply more complicated than what an individual can do, or multiple individuals. A lot of times this occurs when you've got instruments and samples, water samples, instruments, trying to process, you've got consumables, and what ends up happening is that you have highly experienced people in a lab setting who understand this basically like a black art. What artificial intelligence does, it allows you to provide the user with more assistance, more guidance, and it enables people to make better decisions, make it faster, and it also opens up the opportunity to bring in people that are at a lower skill level. The second one is mobile. This probably goes without saying, but the important thing from a user experience is there are things that are just better done in a mobile setting. This example here, some food safety software that we worked on. You're in a setting, in a field, the fruit is ready to be picked, you need to test it. The idea of taking a sample, taking it to the lab, waiting to come back just doesn't work for many different reasons. The fruit is ready to be picked, you've got people in the field. So it's truly a mobile setting, and by using a digital mobile solution that lets people test the food in the field, and then it's acceptable, go ahead and pick it. And the reality of it is there are many settings that activities that are just better done in mobile settings. And there now is the technology and the proliferation of mobile devices to make that happen. The third thing is digitizing source data. You can see there in that view there that I've got scan data. Scan data has been, medical data has been, MRI and X-ray has been digitized and for a number of years now. The value of it, where it really comes into play, is when you see what Roche is doing with their digital pathology solution, of which we help the user research on that. By digitizing tissue samples, they can now have algorithms for specific types of cancer that can identify cancerous cells. And what it does is it provides the pathologist with some additional information. It doesn't replace them, but what it does is when in many hospitals, the caseload is so significant that no matter how well experienced or how well trained the pathologist is, just the sheer volume impacts their ability to make quality decisions. By digitizing the data, running algorithms against it so that when the pathologist looks at it, there's already some analysis to act against, makes for better decisions, more efficient, and better usage of time, and better response to patients. Voice user interfaces. The good news is voice has really come of age with Alexa, with Siri, with Google Voice. There are now commercial services that do voice recognition that you can incorporate into your software, and that can really make a difference. And where we see it making a difference is in settings like this, where it may be around heavy equipment, maybe around planes, maybe in settings where it's just not reasonable or safe to keyboard. What it does is it allows for people to work again in settings that are not conducive to keyboards. It allows them to eliminate having computers there, and And it also allows for much greater efficiency when people are needing it to enter data. The fifth one is connected assets, and I use that term asset. I'm not talking about just minor little devices. I'm talking about fairly large things. Could be a plane, could be a vehicle, could be an oil well or a water well, could be medical devices. And by connecting those devices and being able to access data about them remotely, it allows the delivery of a whole nother level of asset. You can monitor the operation, the performance can be optimized, there's predictive maintenance and service can be done, ordering of consumables can be done, they could be updated. So there's a whole nother generation of assets that can be created and delivered and managed by having them connected. Sixth one is predictive analytics. And what I mean by that is very much in a user setting. So I'll give an example here. PDI is a company we work with. They do fuel distribution systems all over the world. And it's common for a fuel planner to need to place an order for fuel and determine what truck should it go on, what compartment in that truck, where should it be located. The beauty of what PDI has done is you can literally on a single screen take the location of a station, which has tanks that are all connected devices, drag it over to a truck that has probably 6 compartments. It will interpret what the levels are for the tank. It will measure the levels for the tank. It will generate an order. It will determine the optimal place to go pick up the load. It will calculate the route, and it will give the user a certified hazmat route that is acceptable for the driver to use. All of that happens within less than a second or two. And it's that predictive capability, particularly in this case, the hazardous mass routing locations, that makes it extremely valuable experience. Okay, seventh one is data capture. I've included this in here because data capture is always challenging. In a patient setting, how many times have you gone in and you basically have watched your doctor and type, and you've at the end of that appointment say, well, his typing's improved from the last time I came in here. Data capture is always a potential for errors, and in many cases, medical cases or in field settings, it's a distraction to doing the work. Capturing data very efficiently is a very important thing to accomplish. And there are more and more things that are happening. And there are services or capabilities like Rocket Mortgage, or I was just setting up Venmo, and they said, don't bother giving us your routing number and your bank number. If you just log onto your bank account now, we will get the information. Now, there are some issues about that I'm not totally comfortable while I'm present as security issues, but the reality of it is people are now doing things to solve the problem of data capture, doing it more easily. And basically now at this stage of the game with something like Rocket Mortgage, people, mostly millennials, can apply for a mortgage from their phone, and they've got very little data to enter. So it's always a source of innovation to make the data capture simpler, as long as it's safe. The last one is simplicity. And you can see the comment from Leonardo da Vinci, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And I would say that our experience has been making things, the hardest thing to do is to make the user experience really simple. The other thing I would say is simplicity is always a point of innovation. It's always a way to get different kinds of users involved, new users, reduce time. So it may not feel like it's the most compelling thing, the sexiest thing to do, but it can always deliver additional value. So what have we learned about doing this innovation work? If you say, okay, I'm interested in some of these things, I think I could do this. How do you go about innovate? First off, there are 4 things I want to mention. First off is that in your digital solutions, the innovation will really occur in discrete points. not throughout an entire piece of software. It'll be a point in the software, how you do specific things. And what you want to do is you want to identify what are those points of innovation that you could explore and validate. The other thing, and this is probably the most critical thing I could say about this, is when you look to innovate in your software, you need to do it outside of a regular production release cycle. There's just too much constraint when people say, it's got to be code freezes next month, we've got to do this, we don't have the infrastructure in there. You need to be able to be untethered to that, do the innovation work outside of it, validate it with users to get feedback, and then at the appropriate time, incorporate it back into your production software. Collecting user feedback on innovation. This is what I would say about innovation. A lot of cases, users won't tell you how to do it, but users will tell you if it's really valuable. So you might have 6 to 10 points of innovation you're considering. The users will come back and say, there are 4 that will really make a difference. That's what you really want to get from users when you're at the point of doing innovation. The last thing is, innovation can do some surprising things to your business model that you may not have expected. So follow the user innovation wherever it takes you. And what you may very well find is there are some fundamental changes that take place in your business for the better. And there are some fundamental revenue opportunities that come up, like managing the supplies and consumables for your instruments or devices as a service, as opposed to people ordering it. So there are some different changes, potential changes in the business model, potential changes in revenue sources that all come from innovating around, well, what's the experience that people are going to have? So Catalyst is celebrating its 25th year. We've done about close to 600 projects. We work with companies in medical, life science, financial, and operational systems. And if this area of innovation is something you'd like to potentially discuss and see how you might approach it, we'd be happy to have a short conversation. And feel free to reach out to us at catalystux.com. Thanks.